Good morning, it's late March 2025 and I'm going to go and have a walk up to a bit of a viewpoint, see how far we get. I'm in St Lawrence on the south coast of the Isle of Wight, and I've been living in this little car. Well, I've been living in a vehicle for 8 years now. First a Citroen Berlingo, now this little tiny Citroen C1. There's two woodpeckers hammering away along here. Let's go and see if we can get close. Hammering in that direction as well. Let's go this way though. Oh, hang on, let's turn Strava on so I know how far I've walked. Probably about 100 yards at this rate. Excuse me. Excuse my coughing. Yeah, so the woodpeckers are, as always, mostly down that end. It's going to be great spotted woodpeckers and green woodpeckers. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that. There's a wren singing very loudly. They are so loud for a tiny little bird, those wrens. Excuse the zip sound if you heard that. So yeah, great spotted cuckoo, great spotted woodpecker just down there. And a chiff-chaff on the cliff face. That's amazing. So this is St Lawrence in the Isle of Wight Undercliff. There's a blackcap. Chiff-chaff. Wrens and carrion crows. There's all sorts. And the great spotted woodpecker. And another one. Must be right on the edge of the territory here. There's a yaffling green woodpecker. This is St Lawrence Undercliff Wood, which is a Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust Nature Reserve. Kind of a a low intervention nature reserve. They do come in here to do some tree work, make sure the trees are safe along the road and that kind of thing. But otherwise it's left pretty wild. Nice yew tree here for the goldcrest and firecrests. It's one of the great things about living in a vehicle. Oh, it's a robin. Is that you can choose where you park up at night, within reason. And in the morning, you can have different walks. Get up early before you need to start work, although it's Saturday today, so. But you can get up early in the morning and do this, just have a walk, shoot a video, listen to some woodpeckers. I've just had a coffee in the car. I have a little burner, a little stove. I've also got a really good heating element, which you plug into the lighter socket thingy and dip the element into, in my case, a cup of oat milk and water. You could do it with ordinary cow's milk and water and heat it up as you're driving along. So in a minute I'm going to have another coffee and I'm going to stick the heating element in as I drive down into Ventnor. By the time I get to Ventnor I'll have a hot cup of coffee. I usually put the coffee powder in after it's heated up, but it heats up really quickly. There's a buzzard just come in up there. Great tit. And blue tits further back and wrens. It's quite a cool that one. They're very much in nesting mode now. So there's blue tits and great tits and a little group here getting all territorial, getting angsty with each other. So I've been testing in my car. One of the issues is obviously cooking your own food if you don't particularly want to eat out every night, which I don't anymore. I used to. Trying to save money. Yes, I've been testing different ways of cooking in the car. So traditionally I've used a gas stove, like one of those camping gas type stoves with the small propane cylinders that last about a week and a half each cylinder. Don't like that because it's very wasteful. Then I bought a jet boil, which everyone recommends for backpacking and camping. I didn't find that very good at all for my small car, just because it's a very tall. I've got the jet boil flash, I think it's called, and it just stands too tall in the car, so it's very unstable and not really what you want to be doing in a car. You don't really want to be using the bigger camping gas stove either. So I've tried 2 heated lunch boxes, which basically have heating elements in them. You plug them in somehow. One's got a battery, a rechargeable battery. The other one you have to plug in. So you can plug it into the lighter socket in the car. When you're driving along, you can heat up food. It only reheats, doesn't cook as such. I think you can just about fry an egg in one. You can certainly kind of heat up a pizza, something like that. Or any of the packaged meals, like a packaged curry, you can heat up enough. I only stick to vegetarian food when I'm using those heated lunch boxes. Don't really want to reheat meat in them. Don't trust them, I don't know why. If it's already cooked meat and you're just reheating it, it should be fine. Alright, I'm going to go up this way. I can feel the breeze, so it might be a bit blowy up here. I'll probably not put enough layers on, but let's go up this way anyway. What I might do is swing round to the left initially, just up here, before I go up the hill. If you've not already subscribed, that's a lovely wren. There's a wren just on this corner last time I came along here. There's a wren there singing, centre of the shot. Right. See what's hidden along this little footpath. It's not really a footpath, it's just a trail going through the woods. Yeah, do subscribe to my channel if you've not already done so. And there's a little thanks button as well next to each video, just below it, where there's a like button, so press a like button would be great. But also, if you press a thanks button, you can make a little donation to support the channel, which would be blooming marvellous. Or you can go down into the description and click the buymeacoffee.com link, which also allows you to buy me a coffee or two, which is always really appreciated. What have we got here? This is terrifying. So St Lawrence on the Isle of Wight. We have the old railway tunnel. This is the one that goes through to Dean Farm and Whitwell Road. And no, I'm not going to go into it because it's terrifying. That's as good as my tunnel adventure gets. What I could do, of course, is living there. Currently living in a little car, but I could live in that tunnel. Not going to do that because I love my little. I love vehicle dwelling. Excuse me. So yeah, living in a car is just basically, it's like a 2-person tent with 1 person in it. More like a 4-person tent, to be honest, but a metal one with the added bonus of an engine and wheels and a power supply built in. Pretty epic tent. So if you like camping, there's absolutely no reason, no earthly reason not to live in a car. I don't like camping. Although I have been thinking about getting well, I've already got a bivvy, to be honest, in the car. Getting a better bivvy. My one's just a cheap emergency bivvy. Bivvy's basically like a oversized sleeping bag, but it's waterproof. And most of them have a hoop over the head, so it lifts it up over your head, so it's not really a sleeping bag. It looks like a sleeping bag, but yeah, it's like a sleeping bag style tent. So I might get another one of those, and over the summer do a few camping sojourns, trips around the island and around Dorset, Devon and Cornwall, and take you lot along for the walks in those new areas. So the woodpeckers have stopped, haven't they? Not heard one since I walked through where they were drumming. They drop off by now anyway during the day. It's about 6:45 in the morning, I guess. It's the old green sands of the undercliff, or the inner cliff face, confusing the gimbal there. I'm using an Osmo Pocket 3 DJI Pocket 3 camera system, which is really good. I'm not very good at operating it, but it's very good at coping with my incompetence and producing reasonably good video footage. If you're watching this on your TV, hopefully it looks okay. And hopefully the audio is okay as well, using the DJI Mic Mini. God. Some holm oak, very invasive species. So we've now lifted out of the undercliff. There's the undercliff down there, where we just come from. Oh, what a cracking day. I thought the weekend was going to be minging, rainy and cold. Definitely isn't. Some meadow pipit on the public right-of-way sign over there, singing, territorial singing. I can hear the woodpeckers back down in the undercliff, down in that direction, so they are still hammering away. I thought they might be, to be honest. Just the ones I walked through stopped. They'll start up again though. So if you want to see Glanville fritillaries on the Isle of Wight, which is a rare butterfly, rare in the UK, well, it's only really on the Isle of Wight in the UK. I think there's still some in Bournemouth. If you want to see them, either come up here to High Hat or to this area, kind of this side of the radar station that you can see there, or go to Wheelers Bay. If you come here, you'll have to come along the Clifftop just over there, just where I'm pointing. Walk along there. It's not safe, so I wouldn't recommend it, but there are Glanville fritillaries here at the right time of year, in May, when they're on the wing, the adults. Or just go to Wheelers Bay down in Ventnor, where they're common. And it's a bit easier going in terms of safety, and hopefully you can hear that meadow pipit singing. Yeah, so on the public rights of way sign is a meadow pipit. It's kind of stopped singing now. There he goes. That'll be singing a lot louder when the sun comes out. There's the St Lawrence Undercliff. Green woodpecker yapping. Looking south now, out to sea. I love this part of the Isle of Wight, especially at this time of day when the sun is coming up. It's about coming up for 7 in the morning in late March 2025. You can hear the skylarks as well. I'm going to disturb the meadow pipit, unfortunately. I've got no choice because that's the direction I'm walking in. Still singing. You can probably just about see him on top of the way marker there, the public right of way sign. Right, sorry Mr Meadow Pipit. Here he goes. Right, I do apologise. Must remember to look out for eagles flying over. You don't get them on this side of the island all that often, but it's always worth checking what's going on above you as well as below. Red kites as well, there's been a few of those around the last week or so. They're still not that common on the Isle of Wight. They will be common soon because they've certainly become more frequent in the last few years. There's a linnet over there. Skylarks in the distance. Could do with the sun coming out a bit more. Get the skylarks to sing. You can probably hear them in the background. I can hear chiff-chaffs in this hedge line. There's a chiff-chaff. Yellowhammer singing. Lovely blackthorn in the hedge just here. Very nice. Hopefully you can hear the skylarks. Lots of pheasants and carrion crows. And rooks. So the farmer's been out since I was last here preparing the fields, kind of roughly scarified it. It's not been ploughed as such. So presumably you'll be putting a spring crop in here soon. These wide grassy margins he's got at the edge of the field are absolutely brilliant for things like yellowhammers and yellowhammers singing over there. These lovely thick hedgerows are just superb. I'm scanning through my binoculars as I walk down, which is why I keep stopping. Do love to look at a yellowhammer in spring plumage. They look absolutely stunning. There's all sorts along here. Linnets, the odd yellowhammer, robins, song thrush, pheasants, lots of pheasants. Right, I'm gonna walk along this way, I think. How's the time going? Let's just quickly check the time. Nine minutes past 7. So we have plenty of time. Zoom out again. Oop. It's better. Go up along here. Actually, what I might do, rather than going along there, I might go along to St Lawrence Shoot. Let's go this way. Walking into the sun, which isn't ideal, but if I went the other way towards High Hat, I'd have to come back on myself. If I go this way, I can do a loop. What I will have to do is walk beyond High Hat to Cripple Path one of these days. There is one of those videos in my channel. Gonna disturb the meadow pipit again, although he's above us now singing. Gone back onto his fence post, or onto his public right-of-way sign. He likes it there. Let's cut across so I don't disturb him again. Going to get very wet feet. It's very soggy, the grass. So we're now in prime bird migration time. So there were a few chiff-chaffs along the hedge line. I've not had willow warbler yet. Might be one along here singing. Be nice. What's that singing up there? Hold on. Let's have a look through bins. Can't tell. Silhouetted. I can hear a yellowhammer, but that's not what sat over there. Yeah, maybe it is. Where it's coming from, the yellowhammer song. Yeah, it's flying over the field now. Back towards the hedgerow on the other side. There's lots of yellowhammers here. Certainly say that. So yeah, prime time for bird migration. They're all returning in spring from sub-Saharan Africa. What's that flying along? Speaking of migrants. It's another meadow pipit. They're really liking it up here, the meadow pipits. So I'll make a quick comment directed at Natural England. So we're on a High Hat, and this cliff top on the cliff face is all a triple SI, Site of Special Scientific Interest. And I assume either the farmer or the council have topped this area off on the top of the cliff, which is good for keeping the holm oaks under control. But on the slope, which is where all the valuable chalk grassland is, the triple SI chalk grassland and the Glanville fritillaries, they've not cut it. And this is where the real problem is occurring, where the triple SI is being invaded basically by this holm oak. You can see there's millions of seedlings. And so it's difficult. I'd have goats up here, but whether they can do that feasibly, I don't know. But in order for the triple SI not to turn from chalk grassland, which is what it's designated for, or cliff face chalk. Oh, nice chiff chaff coming past. They're going to need to get rid of all this holm oak. because it's just turning into solid holm oaks as it stands. And Natural England have started to get on top of it by helping the farmer to cut some of the scrub, well, the holm oak. Nice yellow hammer there. But a lot more work needs to be done. It needs to be done soon because the triple SI is getting destroyed by invading holm oaks. This all used to be completely clear along this cliff. Lovely yellow hammer there. Stopped. Yes, I think Natural England needs a bit of a game plan for along here. It goes from here, the triple SI Clifftop and cliff face, all the way along to High Hat, which is the peak over there. Beyond that, the invading holm oak isn't such a problem. So this is one of the main sections, and there's another section a little way along at High Hat where yeah, they're gonna have to, Natural England is going to have to get its act together really and sort this out if we're not to lose a triple SI. Pretty unique habitat, this kind of inland chalk cliff, inland but still on the coast. So it's not the same habitat as the chalk cliff that's common on the island, the sea cliffs at the Needles, and because there's an undercliff below this one. So it's probably unique really. I mean, is it Folkestone Warren? Is that undercliff below a chalk cliff? Probably. But otherwise the Isle of Wight Undercliff on the chalk is pretty unique. So the triple SI interest here is pretty unique. You can just see how much holm oak is spreading into here. And this is superb old ancient chalk grassland, full of rock rose and salad bonnet and, well, everything really. Adonis blues and chalk hill blues, loads and loads of chalk hill blue butterflies. You could just see that the chalk grassland down here. Just about see a kind of a relic chalk bit of it, just covered in rock rose. And these holm oaks here have been cut by, I think, the farmer with Natural England support, so they can do it. This is within the last 5 years this work was done. So Natural England could definitely get it done with the farmer. Just need to expand the programme and keep on top of the holm oak. Right, so that ends my little session of lobbying the government. Natural England is part of the government. Let's go back to my van dwelling theme. Right. What I can do is I can cut that bit I've just done, and that'll be a separate little short video that I can put on my other YouTube channel, Steve Jones Wild Writer. Guys, loads of meadow pipits up here. They're really loving it. So this is interesting. This was arable, this top field, but the farmer, quite a while ago, reverted it to grassland and is now managing it as really, really lovely chalk grassland full of yellow, well, hay rattle, yellow rattle, and other chalk downland wildflowers. It's really working well. Done a brilliant job, the farmer. This is another section that's a bit of a disaster from a triple SI point of view. It's all protected habitat that should be managed but isn't being properly managed because of cuts to the budget of Natural England. They just haven't had the resources to look after these places. And the current government, Keir Starmer's government, is worse than the previous one in terms of budget cuts, it would seem. Well, actually, that may not be true. We'll have to see how things develop. They've made some really good announcements lately, like beaver reintroduction is now formalised and you can now apply for a licence to release beavers into the wild. That's good news. They've frozen the SFI payments to farmers, which is not good news, but I was speaking to a farmer who seemed to be saying it's not as bad as some of us think it is. SFI is basically the payment scheme that farmers can apply for to support good things they do for wildlife. Another meadow pipit. Yeah, you can really see the holm oaks here. And on this part of the triple SI chalkgrass, and it's not only holm oaks, it's also bramble and blackthorn and ash trees as well. Oh no, they're not ash, they're holm oaks. More holm oaks. These are blackthorns, soon to come into flower. So they're native, but it doesn't matter, we need to clear them out of this triple SI. So it's quite a job. So basically to clear the holm oak along here would require tree surgeons with climbing equipment. So it's quite a specialist task, taking chainsaws and cutters down these steep slopes to get to the base of these taller holm oaks lower down, because they're all shading the triple SI, and they create much stiller conditions, which is what's enabling all this scrub to invade what was a windswept cliff face. So that's the point here. You know, Natural England could say, well, how are we going to graze it? It never used to be grazed. I mean, there used to be a few more rabbits on here, but really what's going on here is the holm oak, and it's got really bad along here. This all used to be completely open, but the holm oak lower down the cliff face kind of grows up and shelters the top part of the slope from the winds, from the sou'westers, this is all hitherto exposed to, and that's what enables this invasion of seedlings of holm oaks right the way up the cliff face, right up to the top here. So back in the 90s, 2000s, this was completely open, and now it's solid holm oaks, and this is all site of special scientific interest. The interest feature being open chalk cliffs and green sand cliffs covered in chalk grassland in some areas and more neutral acidic grassland in other areas, and it's been allowed to be invaded by holm oaks and be destroyed. You can see here this is holm oak seedlings, but amongst the seedlings are loads and loads of rock rose and salad bonnet. So this is chalk grassland that is just going to be destroyed by all these thousands of holm oak seedlings, and these adult, or these more mature holm oaks, are sheltering this slope from the prevailing southwesterly breeze, and that's what's enabling the invasion of these seedlings and the bramble and blackthorn. So essentially what I'm saying is, if you cleared the taller holm oaks down the slope, and you'd need climbing gear to do that, you'd open it up and expose it again to the sun and the wind, and that would knock back the seedling holm oaks, reduce their capacity to colonise. This is a new thing, this kind of invasion of holm oak along here. It's only happened in the last 20-30 years. Doesn't sound very new when I say it that way. But so prior to the kind of march of holm oaks in a kind of a westerly direction from Ventnor, prior to that, this would all have been open and windswept and kept open by the wind and by a few rabbits. So it's undeniable the rabbit population has certainly declined along here, so that it's been one of the factors, but the main factor is just the shelter shading created by the holm oaks, opening up the grasslands, sheltering it, allowing the seedlings to get in. And we've also got this ivy spreading into the chalk grassland as well. Just creates a ground cover that totally destroys the grassland, and that's because of the humidity and the shelter created by this bank of holm oaks on the cliff face. There's holm oaks on the other side of the path as well, the field side of the path, so you can have basically a kind of a hedge line of holm oaks on either side of you when you walk along here in 10 years, if Natural England doesn't get on this. This is crazy. This was just, none of this was here in the 90s, 2000s. This isn't rewilding, by the way. The invasion of non-native holm oaks destroying a triple-SI is not rewilding. And if it is, then rewilding is disreputable in terms of nature conservation, but it isn't. I mean, I'm a rewilder and I can tell you this is not rewilding. This is incompetence. This is neglect of the crown jewels in terms of wildlife in England. Lovely anthills, yeah, this always used to be a superb section for anthills on this really parched, hot clifftop, but now it's just covered in scrub. Scrub is great. I've written a book about how to create lots more scrub, but not in triple-SI chalk grassland like this, not to the extent that it completely destroys the features for which it is actually designated a site of special scientific interest. So the solution, work with the farmer, who's brilliant along here, really wants to do the right thing and owns the land, well, the inland bit. Whether he actually owns any of the cliff face, you'll have to look at the land registry, or I'll have to look at his land ownership map. Either way, work with that farmer and work with Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust, who are really good. They've got a nature reserve just along here. And Natural England finds some resources to enable the farmer to get out the contractor he's already used along where we just walked, because he's already done a chunk of this work. So both Natural England and the farmer know and have already done some of the work that needs to be done. Continue that. It's lapsed a little bit. They've not done any for the last 2 or 3 years. You need an annual programme of probably clearing about 1 hectare a year, and after 5 or 6 years you'll have the job completely done. And in the longer term, to stop it just re-invading, I think by exposing it a bit, by dropping some of the canopy of the holm oaks down on the cliff face, by exposing the cliff top, the chalk grassland area a bit more, you will greatly reduce the capacity or the kind of the favourable conditions for holm oaks. So you'll reduce how good it is for holm oaks and reduce the invasion, but you will need to come back. Unless the rabbits, I mean, you know, we can't say that rabbits used to keep it under control, and since they've declined it's got out of control, because rabbits don't really nibble holm oaks. They leave it, and there are rabbits here and you can see all the holm oaks. So it's not really down to the loss of rabbits. You can't blame them for the invasion of holm oaks. What it is that the holm oaks is working its way westwards from Ventnor towards Knighton, basically. So it's a pathway of invasion gradually working its way west. So you need to knock it back. And it's going to be an ongoing management requirement. You need to treat the stumps, which I don't think was done with the last bit of work that was done. So you're effectively coppicing them if you don't treat the stumps, which is not going to do the job at all. You just have to keep coming back. Anyway. This is a very long walk, 51 minutes so far. So we're just going to drop down in a second to St Lawrence Field. I'll have a look over across it, but I'm not going to go into it this time. St Lawrence Field is a Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust nature reserve. Very tiny one. It's got some rare plants in there. back in the olden days when I was young, yeah, when I actually used to live in a house in Ventnor, I used to do these walks a lot, and they were a lot longer back in those days. But now I've got old and crotchety, I do it a lot less. So St Lawrence Field is just up that slope. But I'm going to drop down St Lawrence Chute, which is where I am now. I'm going to walk in the middle of the chute because that means if a car comes up from the bottom, I can veer left. If it comes from behind me, I can veer right to avoid getting squashed, which is always a handy thing to do. So is it worth giving you an update on my book writing? So the last few weeks I've been really busy with the work I'm doing in Dorset, and the next few weeks coming up I'm going to be really busy with the work I'm doing in Dorset, which means I haven't done any writing for the last week. I mean, tell a lie, I've written probably about 1,500 words in the next book that's coming out, the Vanlife related book. So it will come out at some point. Ah dear, lovely chaffinch calling up there, singing up there. So they've had a really hard time, chaffinches. I think it was bird flu. They became really rare in the Undercliff 3 or 4 years ago. Having been incredibly common, they became really rare. And you can hear it calling, that's a chaffinch calling. Like that. And I think that was bird flu, so I think they all died, but I think they've got over it now. So they're recolonising by the sounds of it. There were quite a few in Purbeck a few days ago when I was there. Now they're becoming, I'm encountering them more again in the Undercliff. They used to be so common down here, it's crazy. Now hopefully they'll become common again if they've built up their immunity to bird flu. I'm only guessing it was bird flu that did it. It tends to have been getting bigger birds like kittiwakes and auks, some of the seabirds. So it may not be bird flu, it may be some other disease that's coming from bird feeders. I think that was a theory around greenfinches, which also declined very dramatically and are gradually recolonising. I think the theory is that they picked up a disease from bird tables. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's been proven. Here comes a car behind me, let's veer to the right. There's the old railway bridge, obviously no railway anymore. See if I can get across this narrow bridge without getting squashed. It's looking good. So the railway track bed was down there. And I assume this was a signal house or... Oh, here we go, I'm going to get squashed. Which direction? Let's go on this side. No, I'm okay. I was hearing the car that's just gone past. St Lawrence. Halt. So that does suggest a signal station, I think, or a signal house. Is that what halt is? I don't know. Or maybe it's just the end of a line. Must remember to look out for hoopoes. Any of these lawns in St Lawrence look good for a hoopoo, especially around about now, because there's been quite a few in southern England the last couple of days. We've had southeasterly breeze, and this time of year hoopoos drift over accidentally into the UK if there's been a southeasterly or a southerly, and that's what they've done. So check your lawns. And I will check the lawns here. Yeah, this what used to be a lawn is now rough tussocky grassland, which is no good for hoopoes. It's good for all sorts of other things, but not for hoopoes. Tell me if you live in the Undercliff and if you've seen a hedgehog in recent years. Comes a car, fast one. Yeah, I've not seen a hedgehog for 20 years in the Undercliff. Not seen one on the Isle of Wight for a few years. Well, that was the last one 20 years ago I saw on the island, was the one in the Undercliff. Up on Mitchell Avenue, squashed on the road. But do tell me if you live in the Undercliff or if you live on the Isle of Wight, if you've seen a hedgehog recently. Just so I know whether they're still here or not, basically. Pretty sure my sister said she still sees them in Newport, in the middle of the island. I'd have to ask her. She's probably watching this video. Probably not, actually. Hope not. Yeah, as I said earlier, do subscribe to the channel. I want to try and get up to 2,000. And I think we're on 1,800 and something. So not far off. 2,000 subscribers would be a nice milestone. What's even better for the channel is if you go on to watch more of my videos on the channel. So at the end of this video I'll stick a playlist up, and if you click the playlist you'll be taken to a long playlist, funnily enough. There's a nest in this wall. I think it was a blue tit, either a blue tit or great tit up there somewhere. Just flew out. Seven Sisters Road. Excuse me. Can I just go back to the car and see if the woodpeckers are still hammering away? I think they've stopped. And then head to Ventnor for a cup of coffee. Shall I go down that way, I wonder? Nah, let's carry on along here. Time's getting on a bit now. 7:30 in the morning. This is over an hour long now, this video, just gone over 60 minutes. So if you're still watching, well done. Watch time really helps this channel, so the longer people watch the videos, the better. So if you're still watching, that's much appreciated. Green woodpecker yaffling. I can hear one hammering woodpecker. What a cracking day. goldfinches singing on their territory just over there. Yeah, I can hear woodpeckers in the distance. Great tit to the right. What I don't know, what I need to look into, is whether there's a microphone that picks up the surrounding bird sound better than the one I'm using now. Obviously I've not listened to this video yet, so I don't know whether this one is picking up the sound. I'm hoping it is. I'm sure it's missing a lot though, so I need to see if I can find a better quality microphone if this one isn't picking up the sound. Just so you can hear more of what's going on around me. Might be perfectly okay. Comments in the comment section to this video, please. Back in the 1990s when I used to come along here, traffic was thundering up and down. This is an A road, so it's quite a busy, used to be quite a busy road. Now it's tranquil and blooming marvellous. Chiff chaff singing. Woodpecker hammering. This is one of the main group of woodpecker trees. So the magpies have just arrived, so well, I've arrived and the magpies have arrived, so the woodpeckers may have moved down a little bit. Certainly not hammering. That's another car. It's relatively busy this morning. Love these spring flowers in the verge. Grape hyacinths and oh, lovely primroses there. Daffodils. Bluebell greenery there, no flowers yet. So the woodpecker started up again behind me where I've just walked. God, it's busy. Deliveries going on, I think. This is pretty idyllic, isn't it? Idyllic. What a place to live. My battery is almost flat, you'll be pleased to hear. So I'm going to have to cut this video off in a minute. So it will be a little bit less long and tedious than it might otherwise have been. Blackcap calling. Oh no, it's a wren. I was just about to say blackcaps have been really, really rare this winter in the Undercliff. And it's not even a blackcap, but they have been really, really rare. So rare that that's not even a blackcap. Don't know why they've been so rare wintering this year. Always find that when I do these walks, these vlogs, these video walks in winter, I never have as much to say as I do in spring and summer. So as the weeks go by over the next few weeks, a month, I'm going to be able to say a lot more, just because there's a lot more going on from a wildlife point of view. Going to have a quick look down here before the battery goes flat. You can never tell with these little batteries. It may I may be able to get back to the car, so this video will be even longer, which I'm sure you're all delighted by the prospect of that. Lots of dead wood. This sycamore leant over during the big landslip here. And now we have lots of dead wood, which is a good thing from a wildlife point of view. Wildlife loves dead wood. Stag beetles and all sorts of creatures. The woodpeckers love it. So there's been lots going on down here where this landslip took place. Lots of trees have been taken down. Just have a look at this big pipe that's been put in to draw water away from the landslippy area. Probably hear the flow of water going through there. Let's put the microphone on there. Excuse me making a noise with the microphone. Come on. And now I'm going to head to Ventnor, I think, and get a cup of coffee. So I hope you're enjoying this video about Ventnor and the Undercliff. If so, then don't forget there are 2 books that I've written. One, Bird Watching Around Ventnor, creatively named, and the second one is Wildlife Watching Around Ventnor. Just short books about the local area that are the subject of this video. Available on Amazon. I'll put a link below for this video, and you can also order it from the library, and it's available in all major bookshops, both of these little booklets, and in a few shops along the Esplanade, like the Longshoremen's Museum and Lady Scarlett's Tea Room as well. But yeah, I'll put a link to the description if you want a slightly deeper dive into the Isle of Wight Undercliff. Then these 2 little booklets might be of interest to you. Just go onto Amazon otherwise and just search for Steve Jones and Ventnor, and you should find them.